Welcome back. We have taken a bit of a break on the podcast, but we are kicking off 2026 with a brand new episode, and I'm so excited that it is finally the new year. So today's episode, I'm going to talk about what happened in 2025, what worked really well, what I definitely learned in 2025, and what we're going to be changing in 2026. So fresh start. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. And today I want to talk more about some of the really good things that happened in 2025, especially with our clients that we had helped consult on their new build projects. So as you may or may not know, our primary focus as a consulting firm is specifically for custom new builds. And I get asked a lot about renovations. And I'm going to finally explain in a bit more detail why our focus is just such a big emphasis on the custom new build homes. So for renovations, I wish that I truly could take on every single project. We have a tremendous influx of leads coming in, but truthfully, a very small handful of them we are actually a good fit for equally on our side and on the client side. And the reason is because we don't take on hardly any renovations. Of all the projects that we did in 2025, less than 2% were renovations. All of the others were custom new builds. So why don't we take on more renovations? The answer is because I am so hell-bent on doing what works. And if I'm going to be involved in a project, I'm going to make sure that it's going to be successful, and renovations are far more challenging than new builds. There's not enough talked about what happens with renovations, and it's the limitations around renovations that are a really big struggle to get right. Most often I'll see somebody come to us and say, we want to renovate a kitchen, or we want to renovate a bathroom, or we're having to do this mold remediation anyway, so I want to renovate X, Y, and Z. And I just don't feel great about that strategy, because a lot of these are older homes. They're 10, 15, 20 plus years old. And the fact is that building materials have a useful life. So when you have a home that is 30 plus years old, there's likely a whole lot more in that home that needs attention than what you're prepared to focus on. Maybe, that kitchen or bathroom renovation is going to actually address. So that's one thing, is just getting clarity on what the home actually needs as a renovation versus what the proposed plan is. So that's one. The other thing is that there is such a thing as scope creep. So when doing a renovation, you may plan to do a kitchen. You may even plan to do the entire interior of the home. This is actually going on right now with a project that we are consulting on in Los Angeles, so in Southern California. They had a devastating story of severe mold illness in their family. And they had purchased this home. It's not a very old home, but it's time for a renovation of many of the components. But they had discovered mold in their home. It was in their attic, it was in their laundry room, in their son's room, in multiple areas of the home, to where it warranted gutting the entire interior of the home, which began the scope creep. They had thought they needed to renovate the bedroom and the bathroom in the laundry room, but then, okay, here we go. We're going to gut the entire interior of the home, all new mechanical system, and get to the root cause so that there is no mold in this home. Okay, so that all took place. Then it was discovered that the windows were leaking. Okay, so then now their scope creep is continuing, and now they're replacing all of the windows. Unfortunately, it was discovered that when the windows were installed, that those in fact were leaking. Brand new windows that were just installed, all of them were leaking. Okay, so now they're at the stage where the building paper on the home is actually deteriorating. And from the interior, they can very clearly see now that their building paper, which is supposed to be their waterproofing layer, is just peeling and crumbling from the inside. And that's because that building paper is at the end of its useful life. So they are now looking at what they originally thought was a mold remediation of a few areas of their home. Their home is now completely gutted from the interior. Windows are leaking that need to be replaced, and possibly contending with completely stripping the exterior of the home. And that is devastating. Like, the emotional toll that takes on a family that has sick children, is now paying both a mortgage and a rent, living in another home. And this has been going on for 2 years for this family. It's a very big undertaking, and I wish it was the only time that this was the case, but I have seen this happen quite a bit. And it's very sad to see, because I don't feel great being on the other side, having to tell this family that, yeah, this home, even if you were to put it all back together on the interior, this home has water intrusion issues at the exterior. And you're looking at multiple 6 figures to completely strip the exterior. No family is prepared for that when they originally thought they were doing a laundry room and a bedroom renovation. That is gut-wrenching, and you now have a home that is gutted. You cannot move back into that home. You're living in a rental and trying to figure out, how can we just get back into our home and for our family to heal and move back into our family home. And you are facing hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to even get there. That destroys, families. I'm flustered because there's so much I want to say about it. But I also want to respect, these families' privacies that are going through so much. But that is one of the big reasons why we do not get involved in a lot of renovation projects, because I sometimes have to be on the other end of the phone saying, I'm sorry to hear that you had planned, for a $20,000 renovation, but what you're looking at now is $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 plus that your home actually needs, because the plumbing is original to the home, the electrical is original to the home, the windows, the exterior, the roof, like the list goes on and on and on. And a lot of families are just not prepared for what an existing home takes to be able to fully renovate and become healthy. And it just continues, because this home in particular, and many others in this Southern California region, these homes were built like the concrete slab was poured and there is no vapor barrier beneath it. That was just not a requirement. And we can't change that. We can't undo that. And so we are having to figure out these Band-Aid solutions on, well, you have a really wet concrete slab. What can we do for flooring so that you don't end up with mold again? And I just really want to be dedicated to the path to success. I don't confidently feel great about Band-Aid solutions. And so that is why we have said no to a lot of projects. So that's my take on renovations. Not to say that they cannot be successful. I have seen success stories, and I think that is wonderful for us as a consulting firm. I love data. I love to know, like, there is a rhyme or a reason, and there is, like, we know what is behind everything. And with renovations, we just don't know what we don't know. That is the big thing. So that is one thing that I would say took a bit of a toll on me in 2025, was having to say no a lot of times. The other piece that I was not prepared for was the own emotional toll that a lot of this had taken on me, meeting with a lot of families. So I'm a big fan of always just like having an intro call with families. I want to know what the goals are to see if it's something that we can even help a family achieve. And hearing the devastation, and it's really hard as a mom myself to hear firsthand what some of these homes and building failures and unexpected mold and water intrusion, to hear what it has done to families is horrific. It is, like, I think far beyond what anyone truly knows is happening out there in home building. And I've heard stories from multiple leukemia cases in children, mold illness, SIRS, MCAS, and just the inability to function and work and children live their lives. And I hear these types of stories every single week. And sometimes we can help the family. Sometimes we're unable to help the family, but to hear that this is so prevalent, like it's so prevalent in my world and what we do, that I feel like I want to shout it from the rooftop. And I try to with this podcast and with our social media. I try my best to like put out free content to share and educate and just make it be as widely known as possible. But hearing that a lot of families don't know what to do next. Their family is sick. They may have just been completely devastated with mold remediations, getting in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nobody is saving for a mold remediation one day. And so to be hit with, you have to remediate your home or your children are going to continue to be sick, I think just about any one of us would just do whatever we have to make that work. But hearing the fact that so many mold remediations are failing to be successful is really difficult to hear. So that all circles back to where I am just a stick in the mud about doing custom new builds. And I've seen it work and be really successful, and it makes me very happy and families very happy. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the projects that we have been so honored to work on and the impact that we're making and how we're going to make it, I think, even 1,000 times better in 2026. So when I think about like our little corner of the internet over here, sometimes misunderstood, bashed by more male builders than I ever thought would come in my DMs, but they're there. But here in our little corner, we have made an impact. And in 2025, our team was blessed to be able to work on close to $100 million in real estate. In developments, we have done a handful of some real estate development projects that will turn into like healthy rentals. We have worked on projects as small as 1,500 square feet. We even worked on a pool home that was like under 1,000 square feet, all the way up to 20,000, 30,000 plus square feet. Those are incredible properties, but we have worked on everything in between. In my mind, I don't look at it as, this incredible number of, it was like $94 million in real estate. I look at it as finally like making a little bit of a switch. Like those properties will forever be built in a robust way. Like whether those families stay in them as their forever home or one day they get sold, my hope is that one day when they get sold, that it's continuing to like bless another family, that they may not even be on the market and looking for a healthy home, but they're getting that because we're changing the way that construction is happening. So we were able to work on projects in over 15 different states. We have a team that can work in hot, humid climates. We've worked in the driest of climates. We've worked in cold, freezing climates. We've touched just about every climate zone and worked in multiple states with our team and consulting team as well. In addition to that, we are everywhere. Although I may be here in Southern California, we have teams that are everywhere. And if we don't have somebody in a region, it is our job to help find an architect or a builder, and even specifically like third-party testing. That is something that we are just adamant about coordinating for all of the projects that we are involved in. And there have been some difficult conversations to get there. Specifically, I myself was really surprised this year as I was coordinating more and more leak testing for our projects, which is a huge milestone to get to. I had multiple conversations this past year with like professional leak testing companies that have a regional presence in multiple states. And the conversation that I would approach them with was, we're being proactive. We are doing, new construction from the ground up in a watertight way. And we're like not wanting to get to the nasty, like building defect side of the world. And the amount of times that these professional companies would tell me no, that they do not work on new construction, and that they only work on litigation cases or building defects and failure issues, and they only come in to do leak testing when a building has already failed. And that was incredibly frustrating to hear over and over and over again. And myself trying to educate them in the fact that there is a need and a want for this type of testing during construction. But I was told no multiple times, but we didn't stop there. And we are now at a point in 2026 where we are able to facilitate leak testing for any project in the United States. I would say with the exception of Alaska. We don't have a project in Alaska or Guam currently. So anywhere within the continental US, we have been able to facilitate leak testing and third-party testing, which makes me very happy because that is what every project needs. So I want to also peel back the curtain a little bit and share some of the stories of the projects that we've worked on. Some have been a continuation of frustrating conversations that we've had to have, but I really position myself and our team as advocates for the clients, in that we've definitely done more than just construction consulting, but also as a contractor myself, I'm not going to let somebody get pushed around. And I see contractors so often, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, approach clients and homeowners in a very combative or gaslighting tone. I think that is absurd to ever approach a client, a paying customer, in a manner that is going to belittle them or make them feel like they're asking dumb questions or that what they're asking for is absurd. Let me give you some of those examples. One of the common themes that I see and comments that I receive and hear is from well-known contractors who have an incredible reputation. They've been in the industry of building custom homes for decades. And for some reason, they all have the same song and dance that they like to go back to, which is, I have been a builder for X amount of years, plug in 25, 35, 40 years. I have been a contractor for 30 years and I have never had an issue. And they expect to just say that, and for that the homeowner to accept that as, okay, I guess I shouldn't ask questions then. But we don't accept that. Building defects and human error are a fact of life, and they happen. We would not have $1 billion mold inspection and remediation industry and litigation cases popping up every day if the contractor who's saying, I've been doing this for 30 years and never had an issue, if that was an actual factual statement. If every builder is saying that, but yet we are seeing failures and mold and remediation needed every single day, somebody's not telling the truth. And that builder can certainly say that they have been in the industry a long time. They probably do beautiful work, but we are not taking anyone's word for it. We are going to actually support that project with third-party testing. And any good builder is going to welcome that with open arms. And we have a lot of builders that we've worked with that are excited about having third-party oversight and checks and balances and leak testing and having conversations around managing, potential water intrusion. They should be excited about that conversation because no builder wants to be coming back to be doing warranty work. And I imagine no builder also wants to be responsible for a home ending up with mold and needing a remediation. So we should all be excited about having an additional set of eyes on projects, especially for mold sensitive families. So We have had a lot of success over the past year. And one of the ways that we've achieved that, it's a lengthy process and it's a pretty in-depth, heavy-hitting process that we are involved with, strategizing with the architect and with the builder. But one of the more successful things that we've seen is a lot of pre-construction meetings. This is more than just, hey, we're getting ready to break ground, let's have a meeting. We're having some in-depth meetings, specifically like even before windows are ordered oftentimes. Like, what are the proposed windows? We're pulling performance data. We're looking at the windows, how they're going to hold up against potential water intrusion, and facilitating meetings with the contractor, with the window installer, with the leak testing company, and just making it very clear of like what the game plan is to get to watertight windows. We have seen that be successful in, having testing before all of the windows are installed. In some cases, we really like to see that take place, but it is completely flipped what the norm is, in that, instead of just having all of the windows arrive, we're going to install all 40 or 50 windows and then, continue with construction. Instead, our checks and balance approach has been, well, let's talk through this before all of the windows are installed. Let's get a conversation between the leak testing company and these subcontractors and contractors so that there's no surprises. And so we really have been enjoying being able to facilitate those meetings for a lot of our projects. And going into 2026, we're definitely going to be doing more of that. One of the other things that I'm excited about is more what I'm calling data-driven designs, because there's just not enough of that in construction. A lot of homes are just built to standard building code. And when we want to have the conversation around, okay, we're going to beef it up or we're going to make it more robust, well, I want to have data behind that. And there's actually a mold index that can be calculated, and there are programs that can actually calculate how much vapor and humidity is moving through exterior walls. And I get really excited about when we can facilitate that on projects. And I want to move more towards that for every single project, because I think it brings peace of mind to the homeowner and everyone on the team. So we can always talk about that more, because it gets really technical really quick. But I want to share about a specific project that comes to mind when I think about 2025. And it's for a home that the family was really sick, and they had attempted to actually build a healthy home 2 years prior with a really reputable builder, and everyone thought there was a solid plan in place. And they had begun building, and rain came through. Rain actually ended up inside the home multiple times, and the builder just could not get the home watertight, to the point where there was so much water damage on the interior that there was like a full stop, and the homeowners had decided to part ways with that builder and demolish the structure, because there was so much water damage that the family didn't feel safe proceeding. So we were able to work with this family, their architect, and the builder early on, like a year in the making. We had gone through design details, and we were able to come up with a strategy that took the homeowner's expectations and make it a reality that is not typically done. So we were able to work with the architect on how we can get like no plumbing lines within any of the walls of the home. This home had everything visible. There was like nothing hidden behind drywall. We had whole home leak detecting devices, water filtration, rigid insulation at the exterior of the home, and a solid like leak management strategy, where I often see a lot of projects designed, with like great details, but we also want to be mindful about like what happens after the client moves in. What happens after, so that an overflowing washing machine doesn't like devastate the family and lead to mold remediation. So that was a project in Texas that we were really excited about, that began construction this year and should be finished up in just the first quarter of 2026. So that is a great project. We have also had a lot of success with builders and their receptiveness to what they initially came in and thought was like, oh, this is going to be a healthy home. They're going to want no VOC paint, or they're going to want, some different type of insulation. And to see that the builder come in with like an open mindset, but then see their excitement level increase over time as we're strategizing alongside with them and realizing like, hey, this whole concept of building a healthier home is not just for, the clients that I have that are mold sensitive. Like, this is a new standard that we should be doing on all of our projects. And to see their eyes light up as like all of the pieces come together. And I think that's what I'm most excited about is, yes, making an impact in these like individual families along the way. But I know that these builders are going to be looking at their future homes differently. When we come in and coordinate leak testing and they find that, oh, actually our standard way of installing windows, that's leading to leaks. And they just kind of, I think in their mind, look back over the previous 20 years of like, what happened to all of these other windows that I've installed on other projects? And so I think that seeing that shift happen on more and more projects is going to be exciting to see in 2026 and hopefully many, many years beyond. So I want to leave you with this, that healthy homes don't just happen. I have seen that firsthand. Healthy homes don't happen by accident. It is highly unlikely that your architect, your builder, the subcontractors, and everyone already has gone through this before and it be successful. So it takes a lot of planning, and that's exactly what we're here to help facilitate. And advocacy is a skill, and it needs to include some softness, but also some firmness. And that I want you as homeowners going into 2026 or your new project to not feel bullied or not feel resistant to speak up, because it's a very big investment financially and into your health. And that I hope that you feel encouraged. Like, I see even from my end that there is a growing concern and need and willingness to build better homes from builders, architects, and even homeowners, really reaching out, wanting to build better homes, even if they have not experienced like the damaging effects of mold in their family. So if you are planning a major renovation or wanting to start planning a custom new build, please reach out to us. We will leave a link below to where you can go through our intake form, see if we would be a good fit for each other. I would love to share more with you just exactly about what our process is and what just makes us completely different than any other consulting firm that is getting involved in your project from the very beginning. The best time for us to get involved in your project is early. The earlier, the better. We've even had clients reach out to us before they've even selected land. But when we can get started with the architect and start collaborating directly with them, that is a big win and really starts the project off successfully. So you can reach out to us through the link below. You can also reach out to us on Instagram, send us a message. We just want to hear more about your project and see if we might be a great fit, lead you to a successful new build or renovation. And so I'm excited to do more podcast episodes and see just how much of a difference we can just make in 2026. I'm hoping to have it be even more successful than last year was. So thank you for being here, and I will see you on the next episode.